Buffalo Sabres in 7. Good morning. Happy Monday. Thank you for joining us on Off the Roster, brought to you by our founding partner, Proline. With the new Proline app, you can make every pitch more interesting in baseball season. Download it today. I'm Lindsay Dunn alongside Dan Riccio and Cabbie. Good morning, guys. How are we today?
Good morning.
I'm confused. What just happened? Buffalo Sabres in 7?
And you're wearing all red.
Yes.
Like the Montreal Canadiens.
Yes.
Mixed messages, Lindsay Dunn. What's happening on a Monday?
Were you in the sea of red cheering on Jakob Dobish last night in
TFC.
Centre Bell?
I'm cheering on TFC. That's why I'm all red.
They need the fans.
They need a fan. Yeah, I'm here for them. No, absolutely not. Screw the Habs. We'll talk about that later in the show. That's for Dan in the chat right now. Hope you're having a great Monday. Follow along on Off the Roster on YouTube. Make sure to like and subscribe. But today we are going to start talking about the Toronto Blue Jays. They're starting a series against Tampa Bay Rays, which, yes, of course, they played last weekend. It didn't go so well. But this weekend, interesting roller coaster of emotions for Toronto Blue Jays and their fan base. Hey, Addison Barger back in the lineup on Saturday throws this historic throw from the outfield going 101.2 miles per hour, which was
the hardest throw tracked from the outfield ever in the StatCast era.
And then ooh, that's great. But after, I'll let you know, during postgame when he was talking to us, his right elbow was just, he looked like a pitcher. And then it was announced about a couple hours before the game yesterday that he was going to be out dealing with some right elbow issues, and he's getting an MRI today. So not so great news there. But let's talk about the pitching plan that you saw John Schneider do on Sunday.
Man.
There's a couple ways you could take this.
Yeah. Okay. So I'll start off by saying, the Jays won the series, okay? And for them to get the season back on track, that's it. You just got to start winning more series, right? You start this series against Tampa, find a way to win the series. Keep doing this. Stack up wins of series, and you'll get that record back to where it needs to be. The whole Eric Lauer not starting, going with the opener thing, it's just a weird storyline. And mainly because Lauer complained about it so much last time they tried this, Cab, and they start with Spencer Miles. He was great. Goes to Tommy Nance. He was good in his one inning of work, and then you hand it over to Lauer, and you're hoping he's going to give you a few more innings here. And yeah, he gets touched up quite a bit, and the game gets out of hand quickly. So, is it an Eric Lauer problem? Is it a strategy problem? Is it a bit of both? I don't know, but the issue is the team and Eric Lauer still don't seem to be on the same page, even if they are saying the right things publicly now comparatively to what they were saying the last time they tried this.
Hey, listen, I commend John Schneider. It was, in theory, it's a good plan. It's just now Eric Lauer has to execute and not give up 4 earned runs in the 5th inning. I looked at something in his, this is a small sample size, but in his last 3 starts, in his first inning, so now on Sunday when they lose 6-1 to Anaheim, his first inning is the 5th inning. But in the previous 2 starts, first inning against Boston, gives up an earned run. Toronto won that game. First inning at Tampa Bay, he gives up 3 earned runs. Toronto loses that game 5-1. And then on Sunday, he starts in the 5th inning, gives up 4 earned runs, including an Oswald Peraza home run. So I think it's an Eric Lauer thing. I mean, he's been the most consistent in his poor performances versus
so he is consistent, just consistently bad is what you're saying.
It pains me to say that because I have nowhere near his talent. It's just I'm not really sure, and maybe this requires Mitch Bannon of The Athletic or Jeff Passan to get in there to do an hour-long profile or spend a couple of hours with him to understand what's going on in his game day routine or his setup for games or how he prepares mentally. But the past few games just hasn't been clicking for Eric Lauer. But more importantly, as you said, Dan, Jays win the series. They got one hell of a start from Dylan Cease on Friday. The guy was just, what was it, 7 1/3? 7 innings, 5 hits. 7 innings of shutout baseball with 10 strikeouts, and then Saturday was a mother bleeping hit parade. 20 hits. Talk about inconsistency. Just in like game to game.
I love that fifth
5
inning.
hits on Sunday, 20 hits on Saturday. Everybody gets a hit. Everybody gets a home run. So it was entertaining because we won 2 out of 3. But the Eric Lauer piece, Lindsay, it's quite puzzling how this one's unfolding.
Yeah, and then in the chat, Clayton saying fire Lauer. We have Dan saying DFA Lauer, and then Dan, our own Dan Riccio, saying this is not you. Sorry, Dan, our number one Montreal fan in the chat, and then you said Lauer is public enemy number 1.
Seems that way. I mean, he's getting booed after a home run, right? So it's I hate to say I told you so a little bit, but Eric Lauer was a great story for the Blue Jays last year. He's still a soft tossing lefty. What they got out of Lauer last year was incredible. To get more out of him this year or expect the same level out of him this year might have been a lot. And I don't think that they necessarily did. Look at how much they tried to beef up the rotation and push him into the long man, the swing man in the bullpen role again. And yet, Barrios goes down. Scherzer's been down. Savage wasn't ready to start the season. Bieber's been, he's still working his way into the lineup. So all of these guys that went down and forced Lauer into a big spot again. And, he's kind of been Eric Lauer for most of it. He gives you, as one of my favorite Italian soccer players would say, and now manager or former manager of Italy, sometimes maybe good, sometimes maybe shit. And it's, sometimes he can be pretty good, and sometimes, it's not so good because he's a soft tossing lefty and the stuff just doesn't stuff all that well some nights. And that's exactly what John Schneider said after the game. He's got to get his stuff right, and then his execution on top of that has to be better as well. So Schneider's not backing down from being open about his criticisms of Eric Lauer, where he's gone to bat for other guys, like we've seen him go to bat for Jeff Hoffman constantly. Mm-hmm. So, there's definitely something there that, the Jays aren't loving, and they're still going to need more out of Lauer because, the rotation's still trying to figure itself out beyond Dylan Cease and Kevin Gausman and Trey Savage now.
When you talk about the rotation, it's not official yet for the Toronto Blue Jays, but Francis Romero reporting the Jays are calling up right-handed Yariel Rodriguez back to MLB. So he, in AAA, had 25 strikeouts over 13.2 innings. And I'll tell you some of the comments I saw online was, there is a worse option than Eric Lauer. That's not me. I'm just reading some of the quote tweets when people saw that Yariel Rodriguez was coming back. We haven't seen him pitch in a Major League Baseball game this season. So, Dan, is Yariel Rodriguez the answer?
I don't think Yariel Rodriguez is.
I don't think he thinks that
is the answer, but we'll see. I mean, he's still on that big ticket contract, relatively big ticket contract. So the Jays are trying to get something out of him there. I'm wondering what the roster move is going to be to make room for Rodriguez. There is space on the 40-man, but not space on the active roster. So there's going to be a move to come later today that makes it all work. Still, it's the offense that is still the bigger issue. I know Saturday they didn't have any issues getting hits, but if Dylan Cease wasn't lights out on Friday, that could have been another L for the team. They've got to get the offense going, and it starts with Vladdy Guerrero Jr. for me.
Cabbie, I want to throw to you for that because there is a lot of hate that Vladdy is getting saying he's had a power outage and they're waiting for the power to return. But historically, we know that Vladdy starts the season slow. Are you worried about this?
I'm not worried. I believe in Vlad. I just look back at what he's done historically. I'm like, okay, he's not going to be a 40 home run hitter, but 25 to 30. And if this guy continues hitting above 300, give me that. You just got to start driving in some runs. It's almost like, actually, no, I was going to say it's almost like him and Kazuma Okamoto flips because Kazuma Okamoto, he's been the one consistent J as far as driving and runs.
Now, pretty much.
Yeah, he's got 11 RBI in 8 or 9 games. So salute to Mr. Quesedilla. But Vladdy, I'm not worried. Hey, listen, in the 8th, maybe we aren't talking about Eric Lauer today if in the 8th inning, Vlad Guerrero, who's got bases loaded, clears the bases, or even homers, and it was 5-1 at the time, and that gets us. It's a 5-5 game, or maybe 5-4, and the momentum swings, and Toronto wins that game. And maybe it's a little bit of lipstick on the pig, and we'd eventually be talking about Eric Lauer, but Blue Jays bats have been inconsistent, top to bottom, except for Kazuma Okamoto, who's been, and Yohendrick. We need Yohendrick back. Yohendrick Pinago, come on back up to the bigs, big fella. We will embrace you and continue batting, 300-400 in that range. But you're right. I'm not worried about Vladdy. Lindsay,
well, he needs to start getting some power.
But
like we need to see more Vladdy home runs. Brandon Valenzuela has 2 home runs from each side of the plate while Vladdy's still sitting on 2 homers for the year. It's been 18 games since his last home run. He's got like a barely over 600 OPS in that time. This is now an extended slump. He's not just not hitting for power. He hasn't been hitting at all for the last 18 games. A 615 OPS for Vladdy is really bad. And it's
still
a big reason for over the totality of the season, but he's got 9 extra base hits in the entire season. Like, we're into mid-May now, pretty much. The team needs more from Vladimir Guerrero Jr. It's not, I know what Vladdy is as a hitter, and I know he's going to get out of it. At the same time, 2 things can be true. I'm not worried about Vladdy long term, but the team does need him to start getting hot so that they can start stacking some wins, winning some series, and get their record on track and back towards a playoff trajectory.
Ernie Clement, 5 hits on Saturday. Kazuma Okamoto, he had a great weekend. He also
Did you try the Quesedilla?
So I did investigative journalism with Okamoto on the weekend. So I asked him more than just this question, but I only posted this on social media because we still have to edit the rest of the interview. But I was like, is this true that you eat a quesadilla before every game? Because this thing is caught on like a wildfire. Mm-hmm. And he's like, no, but he does eat them like enough throughout the week. And then I was like, of course, I have to ask the follow-up question, is it just a cheese quesadilla? And the answer he gave me in English with chicken. Okay. So there you go, investigative journalism. But the lineups to get the quesadilla was insane.
Pulitzer Prize, Linz.
Thank you so much. Hey, it's going to continue, Cabbie, because I have some more questions with Daulton and George Springer. But first, I want to ask you guys an amazing journalistic question. Today, they're giving out 15,000. The first 15,000 fans are going to get a special T-shirt today that commemorates some of the biggest home runs in Blue Jays history. Of course, that includes Edwin Encarnacion, Joe Carter, Vladdy, and Bautista. But if we take away the 2025 World Series run, what is the most painful home run that you've witnessed in Blue Jays history? Taking out the World Series, looking at you, Justin, in the chat. We don't want to hear it. We already know it. It's too painful. It's too fresh. What is a painful memory for you as a Blue Jays fan when it comes to a home run hit against them?
Cab, I'll let you start it off.
Okay. Well, it was 2021. Blue Jays are trying to make the playoffs for the first time in 5 seasons. AL East is stacked. 4 teams in the division finished with 90-plus wins. Absolute gauntlet that year. There's a heated pennant race, and this is kind of the janky COVID year as well. So, 500 or 1,000 fans could be in the Sky Dome, and you have to be socially or physically distanced apart. So it's the final regular season matchup against the New York Yankees, and Toronto's ace Robbie Ray is on the mound. Aaron Judge murders a home run to center field, not just smash, murders it. It lands on top of the WestJet flight deck in the first inning, first pitch. And then then in the top 6th, Aaron Judge hits another home run to center field, 115 mile per hour exit velo. The Jays lose that series to the Yankees. They win the final 3 games of the regular season, but losing to the Yankees prevented them from getting into the playoffs. Jays finished with a record of 91-71. New York finished with a record of 92-70. So did the Boston Red Sox. So that was painful for me. It was like, we were right friggin' there. We're knocking on the door. But Boston and New York already got their fat asses inside the house, and they played in a wild card game. So Aaron friggin' Judge, who's hit, 900 home runs against Toronto, those were 2 very painful ones for me. Dan, over to you, sir.
So I got to look back to the 2015 playoff run and the series against the Royals in the ALCS. It's Game 6. David Price is on the mound, and Mike Moustakas takes him deep to right center field. And the ball gets caught just below the wall, or what seems to be just below the wall. And they rule it somehow, despite all the replays. And I remember Harold Reynolds on the broadcast being like, oh, this looks like this will get overturned pretty easily. No, it didn't. No, it didn't. The Amish kid, or the kid who looked like he was Amish, grabbed that ball, stole a home run for the Royals. They got the hometown call for it, and it made the game 2-0. That kid's picture is like seared into my brain. I will never, ever forget it. Ever forget it. How much it infuriated.
I think that's why we were calling him Amish.
Yes.
Because he had a neck beard.
With no mustache.
Like he was 14.
No mustache, yeah. It was just the strangest look. He was straight out of an Amish movie. I don't know. And it still bothers me to this day. The rest of that game, the Blue Jays end up losing it 4-3. And sure, it was like early enough in the game that you can make up for it. But at the same time, they lost by 1 run. And then there was other things that happened in that game, like the 7 feet outside pitch to Ben Revere that they somehow called the strike, and there was just a lot. But that home run, more than anything, triggers me because that Blue Jays team in 2015 was a super team. They absolutely should have won the World Series, and the Amish kid stole it from us. So.
I'm sorry, I'm laughing. I know how to get you fired up now. Just making all these little notes. I want to go back to 2022, and I also want to bring up Aaron Judge. I have 2 moments. One, I'll bring up quickly. Do you guys remember when the Blue Jays were up 8-1 against Seattle? Yeah, I do. That was one of the most painful games that I've had to watch when in the wild card, and a big dumper hit a home run during that, and it's just like the floodgates open, and they ended up losing. That is painful. But the one that I remember at least once a week. Some people may not remember or think that it was that painful, but it was Aaron Judge in 2022 when he was doing that 62 home run chase in Toronto. And he hit the tying one for 61, and it went in the bullpen, and they almost caught it. And it's just watching the players and everyone, like all of the Jays fans having to watch Aaron Judge, and like obviously Jays fans for the most part hate Yankees, having to celebrate that moment in Toronto and going in the Blue Jays bullpen. That was a painful moment to watch, and unfortunately it is something that gets played a lot over and over because they're like, oh, remember when he had that historic year with home runs? It was Aaron Judge watch inside the Rogers Center, and it sucked because Yankee Nation absolutely took over.
Yeah. Aaron,
damn you, Aaron Judge, you're so good.
It's funny that 2 of the 3 are Aaron Judge home runs, but he's done some damage over these last few years.
He's like closing in on 400 home runs.
Isn't that
and
crazy?
I want to say he's 33, 32, 33, or maybe 34, but he's like, he could touch 400 this year. And it's like, man, he has a 62. Does he have a 58 and a 54 home run season? Like, the guy's just been hitting bombs since he arrived in Major League Baseball in like 2017 or something like that.
That's what star players do. They hit home runs for their team.
Oh, okay, all right.
Yeah. George Springer only needs 105 to get to 400 home runs. He has 290.
Only 105.
Yeah, 5 more. Yeah, he has 295 regular season home runs. That's not counting some of his huge postseason dingers that he's had. I asked George and Daulton if they remembered their first home runs in their career, whether it be Little League or in Major League Baseball, just to kind of bring some positive vibes back to the show. Here's what Daulton and George had to say.
My first one?
Yeah.
Yeah. My dad was there for it because he got fired. Yeah, he was able to come home, and so he saw me at my first homer in Little League.
I was actually 8 years old, and I remember I hit it. I didn't really understand what was kind of happening, and I remember my dad was like jumping, running down the side, and I was kind of staring at him, and then the ball went over the fence. I was 8, and it was kind of like everybody was shocked that had just happened, and I didn't really think anything of it at the time. I just knew I had to run around the bases and touch home plate, but I understand it now. So I have that vision of my dad in a suit and tie, like sprinting after the ball. So it's awesome.
So if
That's
you
a
don't know
cool
about
core memory right there. Very cool.
It's like,
Dad, like,
he was so
that's
happy.
my kid. That's my boy. Let's go, George. touch them all, or whatever you would have said.
Yeah, running with this suit on. And then when Daulton told me his dad got fired, like we talked about it a little bit more when the cameras were off. I'm like, dude, did you understand what was happening? He's like, no, I was 10 years old. I was just happy that my dad was there. So if you don't know, like his dad is a former player and he also was part of the coaching staff with the Phillies and then Pittsburgh, where he was relieved of his duties as one of the bench coaches. Like, what a memory. But George was just so happy to talk about it. It's like, man, I guess you never forget your first.
You probably don't. I mean, you ask anybody, professional athlete at least, their first home run, their first goal, like they remember it, and you can see it like the play replaying in their eyes as they're telling you about it. It's crazy the memory these guys have on them.
It boggles my mind when they remember pitch counts and the pitch thrown. Salute to Josh Donaldson and Russell Martin, who just started a podcast. But Josh Donaldson was talking about, it was like a home run that he hit against Russell Martin when he was with the Dodgers and Josh was with the Braves. It's like, oh, it was a 2-1 splitter. I'm like, and there's just a game 84 on the schedule. But like, remember that he played his former teammate Russell Martin. It just, that boggles my mind. And Steven Stamkos is another guy who remembers, and I want to say Stammer's got 500 or 600 goals in his career. Maybe that's too high. But he's got 600? Well, he had 40 this year in Nashville. I think so.
600 this year.
He's a guy that remembers every goal. And like against, I don't know if you'll know like the time of the goal, like, second period, it was 11 minutes left, but he's a guy that can remember every goal he scored against and the teams. And so I tested him once a long time ago. I was like, your brain is remarkable, bro. And many athletes share that trait.
It's like Sean McVay. He can do the play, the game,
the
downs,
down and distance.
The distance, and then what play they ran, who they were playing, and how whether it was completed or not.
What the defense was doing, like literally.
Some guys don't remember their pitch count. It happened on the weekend. Some guys, like it happens probably once a series with a player.
I can barely remember yesterday.
Yeah, so. I don't know what we're talking about at this point. No, I'm kidding. But some will remember like, the pitch count. They thought that they got a walk, or they thought that they got struck out, or they thought the inning was over. It's like even with a basketball game on the weekend, it was in the WNBA. Someone thought like, they got fouled out, and it's like they had 2 more fouls to give. So it's like, for those who remember, like what Cabbie is saying, like, how do you remember all this stuff? But do you remember what the Toronto Raptors traded their 5th pick for in this year's draft, Dan?
They traded. It got traded a few times.
Yes,
so the Raptors weren't the only team to trade it. But yes, that pick that they sent for Brandon Ingram has now turned into the 5th overall selection in this year's draft.
Which
Brandon Ingram may not have if we kept
exactly,
it, though,
100%.
To be fair.
I mean, facts only. It turned into the 5th overall pick.
Facts only.
Yeah, but it had to be traded a couple times. It traded to New Orleans, and then New Orleans traded that to Indiana, and Indiana traded that to the Clippers, bro. That's like 3 more transactions to end up at 5th overall.
Which Brandon Ingram, on the weekend, they announced that he had to get surgery on his heel for a heel spur, which, like, if you know anything about that, extremely painful, and just brings up a lot of issues with even how that was handled or how it was perceived, and the people giving him hate. That I guess he did really try to play through it, but he had to get surgery. He'll be cleared to play by training camp, they said. But
I wish the Raptors wouldn't have said he left
with heel
game
inflammation.
3 with heel inflammation. Just say he's got a foot injury. He's not coming back.
Yeah,
I think that would have done a lot of people a lot of favors, because there were some bad takes on Brandon Ingram's heel inflammation injury, and
I saw one.
It didn't do him any favors.
Bad one. Did not age well.
No.
But I mean, he's managing his pain. I mean, didn't he say? I don't know if it was to Lindsay or to whomever, or maybe it was on a press conference that he's been dealing with it since March. So that's just pain tolerance management, and maybe after a game 3, you think just get a cortisone shot in there, localize the numbing of that local area, and like, go ahead, big fella, try to go get us 25 tonight. And obviously that wasn't the case. So yeah, probably in hindsight, just tell us he's out for the playoffs. But all these guys are super competitive, and they all believe that they can play until their body's like, oh no, not big fella. But in their minds, like, I can go out and drop 25, I can go out and drop 30. Body just breaking them down.
I can play through this. Maybe.
Yeah.
I hit my hand on the door the other day. I'm like, I think I need to take a week off of work. It hurts so bad. But Cabbie, I think I know where you stand on this. So I'm going to go to Dan. Does this change your mind at all about the BI trade, that they could have got the 5th? Hindsight.
So
I
now,
understand.
now that they've got the 5th overall pick, or they could have had the 5th overall pick, it's none of this happens, okay, if Tyrese Haliburton doesn't blow out his Achilles and the Pacers end up going from NBA finalists to team in the tank, right? Like none of this happens without the Haliburton injury. So you have to keep that context in mind. But trying to transport myself back to when they initially made the Brandon Ingram trade, and my very first reaction to the trade was, I thought they were rebuilding. Why are you trading a first-round draft choice as a rebuilding team? That doesn't compute for me. And, of course, you got a really good player. BI was really strong for the Raptors this year. But it comes down to, did they need to make that trade in that moment or stay patient and play the long game with the rebuild? Obviously, if you don't make that trade, this is another lost season for the Raptors. There's no playoff games. There's no RJ Barrett, buzzer beating 3 to win that game 6 and force a game 7. Like all of those things are gone. The butterfly effect just takes it all away. But yeah, should that have been the moment that you traded a first round pick? That would be my only question mark to the whole idea that you wouldn't have done that trade.
And to answer that question, I say yes. I say Bobby Webster, yes, pulls the trigger on acquiring a distressed asset because Brandon Ingram was injured and wasn't playing at the level that he had before. And New Orleans was a moribund franchise, just absolutely dreadful. So this guy's, they obviously took a swing that hit a grand slam in the 9th inning with the Kawhi Leonard trade, who was a distressed asset with San Antonio at the time. So running back that playbook, which worked, and I think so far it's working. This guy was an NBA All-Star, now a 2-time All-Star, and it accelerated the rebuild, obviously, because they're plus 16 in wins in 2026 as they were from 2025. We get 7 games in a first-round playoff series. We're not healthy. Obviously, Emmanuel quickly did not play a lick of the playoffs, and Brandon Ingram played 2.5 games or whatnot. But the future's again, and obviously we've discussed it, and we will discuss more like what does Bobby Webster do with the roster construction. But for Brandon Ingram, I like the trade, and I like what he brought for us. He was the go-to ISO scorer in the clutch, and there's I think the Charlotte game, or there's another one where he would score 8 to 10 points in the fourth quarter for us and win. Granted, we didn't win any against like the top 3 teams in the East. However, we won some basketball games, which got Toronto into the playoffs. So I like the trade. And revisiting it, yes, I think Bobby Webster made the right move. Lindsay, how do you see this one?
I think it's the right move as well. Like, even if it's hindsight 2020, I think exactly what you said. And Brandon Ingram, if he's able to stay healthy, already proved that he's such a great asset to this team, an integral part of it. Sorry, I'm getting choked up. I'm so excited about this and the potential. And the thing is, he had an immediate impact. You get a 5th overall draft pick. Is it going to be somebody like Scott Barnes where they get Rookie of the Year in their first season? I'm not thinking so. But I do think that Brandon Ingram was a huge addition to this, and I think that he's going to continue to be a great asset to this team. He's an all-star. I don't think you're going to have an all-star right out the gate in your 5th overall. They need to win now, and they need to make those moves now.
Yeah, unless, very few players end up being that great straight out of the draft. Even look at Scott Barnes or Scotty Barnes and how each year he adds more to his game and adds more to his game. And he's still, he's just entering his mid-20s now, and you're now starting to see him really develop into a true superstar. It could take a 5th overall pick that long to get there, if they even do get there to superstar level player or all-star level player, which BI was this year.
Much like my life, I don't plan for the future. I live in the moment now, so I love this. Yes, Cab, what's up?
I like that. If they don't trade for Brandon Ingram and maybe Toronto, we had 30 wins in 25, maybe Toronto has 33 wins in 26. There's no telling that the lottery balls would fall in Toronto's favor to get a first overall pick. We ended up getting a 19th. I think 19th overall pick because of the standings in the regular season. But there's no telling that we would. And again, that pick was traded like multiple times, so I had it had different fates along the way. And I'm going to get to this later.
Of course, it's just about staying patient, right? Like that's the only argument. It's not about, because nobody would have predicted this pick to end up where it has ended up being, right? I think the Pacers were like 29 and 21 when the Raptors traded it. So it's like, nobody expected it to end up like this. But look at OKC as the example. They just stayed patient forever and patient and patient and patient. And
hold on, Dan.
They've got SGA, they've got Chet Holmgren, they got a million guys.
Dan.
That's how you build depth in the way that OKC is if you stay super patient along the way.
Are you telling other teams to stay patient? Is that what you're doing, Dan
I'm saying,
Riccio?
if you're looking at
you are
the
saying, hey, stay patient, stay patient?
Yeah.
Because we could just rewind the show, bro, today or any day, where you're emotionally
Vladdy's a bum.
quite hot
Dan
about
Riccio.
the result, about an Eric
I never
Lauer
said
and
Vladdy's a
John
bum.
I know, we would
Schneider
never.
decision, or Vlad Guerrero Jr. He's a Vladdy Singles Jr. It's interesting to hear you tell others to remain patient, or that is the correct strategy when you yourself, Dan Riccio, is not patient.
Hey, Dan,
touche.
facts only.
Facts only. Touche.
So let's do some quick NBA thoughts. I want your guys' thoughts on this, but quickly, I'd say the biggest mistake that happened in the Knicks 76ers series was Joel Embiid telling 76ers fans not to sell their tickets so that the Knicks fans would not invade their arena. That backfired. That inspired the Knicks fans even more to completely take over Philly. It was a wild scene. There's some reporters that were doing live hits after, and it's just all you see is Knicks fans take them over. So for you guys, is this the Knicks' time to win it all? Or do you think, OKC, like we just talked about, they're going to stop them?
Look, if not now, when for the Knicks? This has got to be their year. If you go into in the NBA Finals and you've got OKC there, and that's going to be a tough out, right? But I see no reason why the Knicks shouldn't end up playing for the Larry O.B. this year. They've got the pathway to the final. They're getting, even with OG Anunoby out right now, like now you've got this sweep. You've got time to rest and recuperate. You're not going to have that difficult of a pathway through like Detroit or Cleveland. Don't look like they're ready for the prime time in a way that the Knicks are. So if not now, when? I would say for the New York Knicks.
The window's now, Dan. I agree. What's interesting is Karl Towns' development as this guy's a playmaker now in Mike Brown's system. And, in previous iterations of Karl Anthony Towns, he's a 25-10 guy or 25-15 guy, and he still has those capabilities. He still has those skill sets. But now he's like his assist total, 8, 9, 10 assists, and he's not shooting as much, but he's getting all of his teammates involved in the plays. Like actions are starting with Karl Anthony Towns, and I just didn't expect that. And also seeing some of Joel Embiid's previous tweets resurface as these teams met each other in the Eastern Conference Final, and then New York just absolutely slapping Philadelphia. Like it provides an additional layer of entertainment. And the New York Knicks were probably supposed to go to the finals last year, but Tyrese Halliburton was mother bleeping, I don't know, Kobe or MJ, just hitting. I think he had 4 game-winning shots or game-tying shots in the playoffs and was able to vanquish the Pacers. So I absolutely agree. Now is New York's time. I don't think Detroit or Cleveland will pose much resistance to the Knicks, and they'll go and experience the Oklahoma City Thunder buzzsaw because that thing is just cooking. I mean, and if everybody's healthy, I don't see the OKC Thunder losing in the NBA Finals this year or maybe even this year for sure. I won't go too far, but I don't see OKC losing in the Finals this year.
I like what Clayton brought up in the chat right now, saying, how could Nick Nurse not put Kyle Lowry in the game for the final few minutes or seconds? And I'm going to be nice to Nick Nurse for a moment because I understand his brother just passed away. But if that wasn't the case, I would rip him a new one because we know Lowry most likely is going to retire, which brings me to LeBron James and the Lakers. Will they get swept tonight by the Thunder, guys? Yes or no? Brooms out?
So.
Yeah,
I think so.
I'm sorry, LeBron, but you don't really got a chance against this OKC team. Like, they don't even have to take it out of second gear to beat this version of the Lakers with all the injuries they've got. So maybe Ric Flair can go and join the Lakers and do them a favor since he's so mad that Luka Doncic isn't on the court.
Oh,
I heard this on a podcast over the weekend. Every time that Jared McCain hits a 3-pointer, Daryl Morey gets a notification because he traded him to OKC, and the kid's been amazing with the Thunder as a role player. They have so many role players. That team is so deep, and Sam Presti just has been collecting Infinity Stones since, I don't know, 2020. Basically, since the Paul George trade that landed Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, since they just have an embarrassment of riches. And I believe they have another top 10 pick in the NBA draft this year. It's wild over there. Salute to Sam Presti. The guy's just been a brilliant executive.
Salute potentially to the NBA if they do or do not suspend Victor Wembanyama for the elbow that he dropped. The people's elbow, or is that eyebrow? I can't remember. In the chat, let us know. If you didn't see this move from Wemby, basically it also doesn't help his height. It got assessed to a flagrant 2, and he got ejected yesterday during the game against Minnesota. Minnesota ended up winning. Do you think, like, here's a hit right now if you're watching, boom, takes out
That's
Reed.
Nas Reed who's getting hit in the face.
And it's just like TKO. He got a flagrant 2, didn't really understand what it meant, and so he got ejected, not knowing, and many
Which button
were surprised.
it was in NBA Jam where you do
What
elbows
a
out,
reference.
elbows out after you grab the rebound, and that was Wemby in that moment. I mean,
do you think he's going to get suspended?
I don't know. An elbow to the face
like that?
It's generally, to me, that's a suspension, but maybe ask George Peros for some advice, because he usually says no to those. So I think Wembanyama and the Spurs are hoping George Peros gives some advice to the NBA for this one.
Isn't it if George Peros is evaluating one specific team, Dan?
Yes. Is he? The question is he a Florida Panther? If so, then no suspension. If they're not a Florida Panther, if not, then yes, there is a suspension. Yeah, that's usually how it goes.
Okay. Well, in this case. Okay, I'll go quickly. I don't think Adam Silver suspends Wemby, because that would just be a bridge. That would just be bad for the sport. And and the NBA. Actually, Minnesota's a great story. So Minnesota versus OKC, or San Antonio versus OKC, that might be the NBA Finals, because we were denied, Boston versus New York. So I don't think they suspend Wemby, but who knows? We'll see probably tonight. Get word on one of the broadcasts. If it happens.
We'll see if it happens. Let's go to the NHL, since we talk about the Panthers, who are definitely not in the playoffs. And I'm hoping that, obviously, the Habs playoff run ends soon, because their fans did something.
Because you look like a Habs supporter right now.
Big time. Were you at Centre Bell this weekend, or will you go to Centre Bell tomorrow?
Cheering on Jakub Dobish.
On that note, if I was, I would be booing the HE double hockey sticks out of those guys, because their fans yesterday were chanting, sing it, Dan.
Na, 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 na. Na, 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 na. Wait. Goodbye.
And what's
Game 3?
Yeah, in Game 3. It's 2-1.
I don't know. That's
you just jinxed your team.
Fair or foul. Like, if you want to get the hockey gods against you, everybody believes in the hockey gods outside of Andrei Vasilevsky. This is maybe the number one way to do that. Remember Leafs fans chanting, "We want Florida"?
Oh, yeah. I remember that well. Oh,
how'd that work out?
When was that?
2 years in a row, I think.
After they beat Tampa and got to the second round.
The second round.
Yeah.
Okay, so last year.
And then they lost in 5 to the Florida Panthers.
Yeah.
And that 22-23 Leafs team was probably the one. It was the one with the best chance of winning a Stanley Cup. Like, that was the best iteration of this Austin Matthews, Mitch Marner, Core 4 era of the Maple Leafs. And they ended up losing in 5 to the Florida Panthers in that second round series. You do not want to tempt the hockey gods. The Habs played really well in games 2 and 3, but to start chanting like that after Game 3, like, you haven't won anything yet. You still need 2 more dubs before this series is over. So that's a bold play from Habs fans, to say the least.
Now the pressure's on now the Canadiens. Like, they kind of came into the series with no pressure, and Buffalo is the number one overall seed, right? No, Carolina's number 1 seed.
They were the top team in the Atlantic, yeah.
Top team in the Atlantic. Thank you, Dan. But now it's just like the guys in the room are like, all right, hockey gods, like, please forgive our fans, please, because, hey, 6-2 win was beautiful in the Bell Center, and it was loud, and it was energetic. Kirk Muller goes out with the flame before the game. That's a very cool tradition to light the torch. That's cool, but now you got to go win. You got 2 in 4 games, and then have the privilege of just getting run over by the Carolina Hurricanes.
Yeah, it's I mean, the Hurricanes are not infallible. They look like they're a machine, but as we've seen, their style in the playoffs, it doesn't always work. I think Buffalo would provide a pretty good test to Carolina, but Montreal, I keep doubting them a little bit, and they keep surprising me. And I think a lot of it, not to make it about the Leafs, but you know me, I like to make it about the Leafs. And I'm watching, and Lane Hudson, Mike Matheson, Noah Dobson, like all 3 of those guys would be the number 1 defenseman on the Leafs. I mean, Lane Hudson would be a number 1 D-man on almost any team in the league with the way that he is playing. But if you think about, and you're watching these playoff series and seeing how it applies to the Maple Leafs and thinking, how are they going to turn their D-core around to compete with these types of teams as early as next year? And I don't know how you do that. Like, Lane Hudson is a freak. The guy is incredible. He is a zone exit machine on his own. And then every single power play, teams have to worry about him so much. It opens up lanes for Caulfield and Suzuki and Newhook and all these guys that it just causes Buffalo to be running around everywhere in their own end. Matheson and Dobson, too, would be great additions to a Maple Leaf defense. And this is the number 1 question for the Leafs and how they turn this thing around. Okay, you're going to get your number 1 overall pick. How do you fix your defense? Because you look at every playoff team and they are loaded on D. This is not new. This is still the issue for the Maple Leafs. And my God, Lane Hudson is really good. I can't believe he was not a finalist for the Norris Trophy.
If you guys don't know, and if you're watching this, the Leafs in Toronto, the center of the universe. And this was made apparent during the broadcast involving the Vegas Knights.
I'm not the only one who makes it about the Leafs.
No,
Everybody
I'm not talking about
makes
you. I make it about the Leafs. It's the only reason I'll ever want to talk about hockey is if we somehow make it about the Leafs. I hate every other team so much, and that's quite apparent on the show. But just take a listen to the broadcast, and then we'll react to it.
This is Vegas, Anaheim.
Mitch Marner used to play for the Toronto Maple Leafs. I got a lot of people back in my own town texting me saying, hey, I can hear you guys on the broadcast saying, well, hey, guess what? As I mentioned, they're watching. You're watching on Crete. You're watching somewhere else up in the GTA, and Mitch Marner's playing Toronto native, and he's been great for the Vegas Golden Knights. Let me ask you, when does that go away? Does that go away next year, 2 years? Does it ever go away? I think it only goes away if and when the Leafs make the playoffs again and actually have a run themselves and get past the second round.
Playoffs, right? So guys, we'll get your take on that.
Score the postseason like Mitch Marner can.
When you think the Leafs hate no longer there. For Marner, the Leafs fan hate and hate watching for Marner will go away.
Yes.
I don't. Leaf fans are not going to stop hate watching Mitch Marner anytime soon, especially when he's putting up hat tricks, natural hat trick on Friday night with a little bit of help from Dostal, who couldn't make a save on Friday. He looked like a pylon in the net. And then last night, he had 3 assists, 3 apples, even though it was a loss for the Vegas Golden Knights. Marner now leads the NHL. He leads all postseason players in scoring this year.
How you doing, Dan?
So, yeah, I think the hate watching is going to continue for a lot of Leaf fans who watched Mitch Marner end up on the side of a milk carton because he was so invisible for so many playoff series with the Maple Leafs, and now he's the number 1 man in Vegas.
Shout out Mitchie. Attaboy, Mitchie. Attaboy, Mitchie. Let him know. Let him know with your play, bro. You don't have to say anything. You just got to rack up hat tricks. Another 3 apples, as Dan said in the last game. Will the hate watching stop? It might be, as Kevin Weeks said on the broadcast, when Toronto has a lengthy, a run to the Eastern Conference Finals, or maybe even making the Stanley Cup. If Vegas advances to the Stanley Cup Final this year, I don't even know I don't know how many Leaf fans will watch, because it might be Vegas versus Carolina, it might be Vegas versus Buffalo, could be. If it's Vegas versus Montreal, maybe 0 Leaf fans will watch, and maybe the hockey-loving version of themselves. Zach, will you watch, actually? As you're a diehard Leaf fan, if if you will watch if it's that Montreal Canadiens versus the Vegas Golden Knights, or you watch regardless of Eastern Conference participant, if the Vegas Golden Knights advance to the Stanley Cup Final, will you watch Stanley Cup Finals?
Yeah, I'll watch no matter what, but that's the nightmare scenario here as a Leafs fan. We did the nightmare scenario about what the draft could be, where Dan outlined, okay, Florida moves up, moves the Leafs to 6, Boston takes that pick. The nightmare scenario as a Leafs fan is Vegas-Montreal final, because you're rooting for... You got to figure out what the lesser of two evils is in that scenario. Is it Mitch leaving and going on to win a Stanley Cup in his first year
immediately
on a new team?
too, not just like,
or is it the Canadian team who's in your own backyard that you're going to have to deal with for however long to come, just rising to this level this quickly, where it was their own rebuild and now they're in the Cup final? Which one is less poisonous to Leafs fans? I think ultimately just calling it quits and neither team playing is the outcome we'd all be rooting for. But yeah, I will be watching.
Honestly, I think most Leaf fans would say Habs, because there's less like personal betrayal that they feel from the Habs to what they feel towards Mitch Marner.
No, I don't want the Habs to win, because then they're going to rub it in the Leafs' face forever. The fans be like, oh, when's the last time you won it? 60-something years ago?
I think that's right, though. I think Dan's right. I think that's the safer option in the two.
The thing that Mitch can never get away from is Paul looking at Vegas real estate before he's a free agent.
Oh, yeah, that was not a good look.
Yeah.
That's the story that Leaf fans will never...
Like his dad was?
Yes.
Yeah.
His dad was looking at it in January of the season before.
So that's the one thing.
How does everybody even know that? Was his browser history made public? Jeez.
His dad's pretty chatty.
Yeah.
So we'll put it that way.
And also, to be clear here, the thing with the Marner frustration, I think more so because it always gets confused, especially once it goes to a national level or outside of the Toronto fan base, is people think that in Toronto, we didn't respect him as a player or appreciate how good he was or all that kind of stuff. That's not at all the problem. It's actually the complete opposite. People here in Toronto were so frustrated because we knew he was such a good player and we were expecting him to do these great things like the point totals and the goals and stuff that you're seeing in Vegas right now. Like, what you are seeing is what Leafs fans hoped for from him every single year and never got. And not just never got, never came close to getting. That's where the frustration comes from Leafs fans, where every single year you'd walk away from a playoff series and see Mitch near the middle to bottom of the Leafs point totals in the series, games 5 through 7. He couldn't find a way to contribute. He couldn't get shots on goal. He never scored here. And then now he's almost completely matched his goal and point totals in one playoff run with Vegas as he did in 9 goddamn years in Toronto. 9 years of a sample size. That's not a
team sport,
narrative.
Team sport.
Those are straight facts. Is what those are.
Team sport, but you need your stars to be your stars in a playoff series. Look, to relate it back to Vladdy, because Vladdy was so good in the postseason last year. You know, he's got a long leash where people aren't that, hard on him right now, even though, the Jays need him quite a bit. But it's that plays part and parcel with the narrative around each of these players. Then also Marner never did himself any favors with the way that he ended up leaving. Team sport, yes. Matthews also has his troubles in games 5, 6, and 7. William Nylander's probably been the best performer of those big three in playoff series, but even him, like game 7 last year against Florida, was a complete ghost. So all of them had a lot of the same issues. You're not wrong in saying that, Cab, or alluding to that, Cab, but yeah, it's still hard for Leaf fans to see or have watched 9 years of Marner being basically a shadow of himself, of his regular season self in the postseason, and then his first playoff series with the Vegas Golden Knights, he's leading the league in playoff scoring. It's there's no way around it. It's tough. It's tough to watch because you wanted this to. If you were a Leaf fan, everybody wanted it to happen in blue and white for him, and it never did.
I understand hate watching. I'll be watching with admiration because I always believe that he's a top 5 player. And go on, Mitch. You gave us some great moments in Toronto, and go get yourself a Stanley Cup, big fella.
I won't be watching at all. I let them know when they hired me for this job. I do not watch the playoffs unless the Leafs are in it, because they are my universe, and the universe revolves around the Toronto Maple Leafs. So it's painful to see other players go and win, and I would definitely have FOMO, and I'm jealous that they advance past the first round, or hey, even make the playoffs.
It is kind of funny though that like Vegas reporters are asking John Tortorella about Mitch Marner's playoff narrative, and they're talking about it on the ESPN broadcast. Like, this isn't Toronto media bringing this up. It's not.
That was surprising.
It's everybody else.
Yeah, it's everybody else. And I want to talk about the narrative surrounding BMO Field, the World Cup, and how it will be and continue to be a nightmare to get around because of traffic. But it was a huge game. One of the biggest athletes in the world was here on Saturday. And Dan, you got to witness it in person.
Lionel Messi. So TFC has basically been 15,000, averaging 15,000 a game so far this season. And Lionel Messi shows up, there's 45,000 people. So it was, and more than anything, TFC lost the match. It wasn't so much about Toronto FC, but for me, it was like a World Cup preview because the stadium with all of its new seats were in place and you had them pretty full. Those bleacher seats that look not the most aesthetic from the outside of BMO Field, but inside when they are full, it is really impressive. And I can see how if you get a wall of fans supporting one team on the north end, it's going to look pretty cool when it's full there this summer. And the sight lines, for everybody that was wondering about the sight lines from the south end, and you have that little awning that covers some of the seats there in the south end, you can actually see the entire field. There is no viewing obstruction, and the vantage point is actually pretty strong from up there, even in the bleacher seats. So it's going to be a pretty cool event. And, we're now just a month out. We're a month away from the World Cup. This was somewhat of the closest thing to a dress rehearsal BMO Field is going to get before that June 12th match with Canada and Bosnia-Herzegovina. So a pass for BMO Field in its first real test ahead of the World Cup. But I think the real question is, are people getting excited for the World Cup at this point? Given all of the stories around with FIFA and the price gouging of seats, and they're having to change the prices, and New Jersey, they're charging over $100 for train tickets to non-New Jersey residents going out to MetLife Stadium. So I think there's been a lot of negativity. I think this happens a lot for every Olympics and World Cup event because it does take a lot of resources from municipal, provincial, federal governments to make them happen. But I don't know what it was supposed to feel like to have a World Cup in your own city, but I don't feel like World Cup fever has arrived yet to Toronto, to say the least. No,
it hasn't. I think it will definitely maybe the week before or a couple days before the first match. I know a lot of people have been messaging me. They're coming from the UK or Germany or wherever. They're excited, but the actual momentum in the city, I'm not feeling it. I'm feeling and hearing basically what I'm saying. People are mad with the traffic or how some of the infrastructure has changed. But I think it will build, and it's going to be chaotic and electric inside the city. But right now, there's not a lot of talk about it at all, unless it's a negative point. Cabbie, are you excited at all about it, or maybe it will build?
I'm excited. I think you're right. It's going to ramp up closer to June 12th, which that opening weekend, once the tournament starts, I believe that soccer fans and casuals too will embrace it, and certainly our enthusiasm will 1,000% depend on the results. When Fonzie scores the opener in 2022, and I can't remember who he had the head. I can't remember who he scored against. But if we can, listen, if Fonzie's back, that's big for us. But if Canada can be consistent in scoring goals and win some matches, that'll be huge for how Canadians experience the World Cup. We don't want to be, Lindsay, you mentioned the Olympics. You don't want to be like Calgary '88 and not win a single gold. You host the Winter Olympics, not win a gold. We don't want that to happen, to be repeated in 2026 and even our women's team in 2015. I think we were in Edmonton. I want to say we made it to the quarters, and we didn't quite have the results that we were hoping for based on what we did at the 2012 summer games in London, where we got bronze. So it will be, I believe that the enthusiasm and the energy will ramp up towards towards June 12th. And we're in Toronto. We don't know how Vancouver's experiencing it, and maybe Vancouver's like super hyped because they get 2 of our Canada games, and they get to see Mo Salah versus mother bleeping Erling Haaland out there on one of the days. So that's going to be incredible. So I think it's going to ramp up.
I think it's gonna be crazy.
Yeah.
I that made me a little bit more excited for it, but yeah, I can't wait to see the crowds, the reaction, and
we'll
just the
see. I mean,
chants.
it's everything, right? It's the fan festivals, and they announced that they're going to be charging money for those and stuff now, which they were supposed to be free. So like there are like some negative stories that surround it, but once it's here, you will definitely feel it a little bit more. And the other major thing that happened Saturday at BMO Field, because make it about the Leafs.
What?
Wait for
So
it.
okay,
talk
but
about Messi.
it's more Maple Leaf sports and entertainment, okay? And Keith Pelly, as the CEO of MLSE, this guy is catching strays everywhere, and he couldn't even avoid it at BMO Field on Saturday. TFC fans in the South End, where all the supporter groups stand, they had a couple of signs up. Rebuild is complete, Pelly. And then another one in red that said, do your due diligence. Which, I mean, you couldn't have picked more perfect signage to have for TFC fans.
Those are very
This
smart.
is relating back to Keith Pelly's after the Brad Treliving firing, he referenced TFC and the rebuild they did with TFC as a sign of optimism to how they could fix the Maple Leafs. And I said it on this show at that very moment. What rebuild? The TFC is 500. That is not something you should be gloating about fixing. 500 is not a fix in Major League Soccer, and that has proven to be true because TFC has struggled quite a bit. They've had some injuries, but they have not made the most of this 9-game homestand that they've had in the lead up to going out on a huge road swing before the World Cup takes over BMO Field. Keith Pelly has gotten the ire of every Toronto sports fan right now. I think he is. I said Lauer is public enemy number 1 for the Blue Jays earlier in the show. Keith Pelly is public enemy number 1 for all of Toronto sports fans right now.
Oh my God.
He's in the conversation. Absolutely.
Let's keep these.
He's brought it on himself. I mean, let's be honest. The best thing Keith Pelly did last week was let Bobby Webster handle his own end of season news conference.
And he stayed away. He wasn't there at all.
No,
He wasn't there at all. He wasn't there. I was at Bobby's thing. He could have been somewhere in the building, but he wasn't there for the press conference. But let's keep these vibes going into something we do every Monday. It's about the weekend, where we talk about our stories from the weekend. And I'm going to kick it off because my story happened just before the weekend, and it involves FIFA. It's the fact that it was announced that FIFA has tripled the prices for their best available tickets for the World Cup final. So the tickets are around $32,970 US.
Ridiculous.
Come on now. That is insane. They're gouging fans. But then it made me look at it. I'm like, well, how much are people paying? Because they said it's all about the market. They're adjusting the ticket prices to what people will pay in the market. So I looked at what was Game 6 of the Warriors and Raptors in 2019. Around $10,000 on StubHub. Some tickets were listed for as much as $60,000 to watch them win a championship. Then the Super Bowl, there were tickets listed around $51,000. We know people paid a lot more to be inside the Super Bowl. Taylor Swift in Toronto, some tickets sold for as much as $30,000.
No,
So what I take out of this, we're the problem. We're the problem. Stop buying tickets at this insane price. I don't care if you have $50 billion. And if you see someone at the World Cup final and you know them, they're rich. And you may not have known that. That's just definitely an indicator that they're loaded. They can come over and use my cheese dispenser anytime.
It's going to be a who's who event, right? Especially,
what are we doing?
It's a little crazy.
BS.
I hope people are being financially responsible, not maxing out all their credit cards and lines of credit, or taking out some kind of super loan to make a World Cup ticket happen. I get it. It's the finals is one thing, but even just charging thousands of dollars for a Canada match, which is happening here, or thousands of dollars for the U.S. matches south of the border. And there's shock and surprise when ticket sales haven't been as strong as they expected them to be. Who has this kind of money? People aren't just dropping $1,500 a ticket because it's the World Cup. I mean, especially in this economy, people are a little bit and have to be a little bit more frugal right now. So it's going to be interesting. I think if you're looking to get tickets for World Cup matches. I know they've been taken off Ticketmaster right now because of the whole, not being able to upcharge in Ontario. But you should be able to find more. They're still going to be expensive. Don't get me wrong. But if you're holding out for World Cup tickets, I think you'll be able to find some at more reasonable prices as we get closer to the actual matches.
Yeah.
Right.
One quick thing on that is just, Americans specifically, and I don't know, I guess Canadians too, but have been complaining about the price of gas since the Strait of Hormuz has been, let's say, interrupted. Business has been interrupted the last month, and then FIFA's like expecting people to pay $3, $4, $5 to watch a USA soccer match in MetLife Stadium. Like, come on, man, read the room. It's tough out there.
It's not happening. So price adjustments are probably coming sooner rather than later. Especially, it's a 48-team World Cup. There's going to be there might be some more empty stadiums than we're used to seeing on a World Cup broadcast for some of those lesser known nations that are competing in this World Cup.
Your story from the weekend.
I'm going to stick with soccer.
Okay.
There's been a lot of soccer talk here on Off the Roster today. But the Premier League had one of the craziest decisions in recent memory. And the big storyline here is Arsenal. Arsenal is a long-time powerhouse in the Premier League, but they haven't won a title since like 2003. Since the early 2000s, the Arsene Wenger, Thierry Henry days is the last time they won a Premier League trophy. Before Chelsea got all their Russian money and Manchester City got all their Middle East money and the landscape of the Premier League changed, Arsenal has not won a title. Right now, they're in first place. Yesterday, they're ahead. It's 1-0. They score in the 82nd minute. Okay, and they're trying to close this game out. There's a set piece in injury time, the 94th minute, and the ball comes in, and it's just a swath of players all around the ball as it comes in, and the Arsenal keeper, David Raya, is unable to get to it, and it bounces out, and Callum Wilson of West Ham scores. West Ham, who's about to be relegated. They need the points desperately to not get relegated from the Premier League, and he scores. Bedlam ensues as this all happens, but wait. The referee gets called to the booth for VAR. And Arsenal gets saved. Zach, can you bring up the picture here? There is a foul called on the play, disallowing the goal. As you can see, the West Ham player has his arm across the neck of the Arsenal keeper as he tries to make a play on the ball. But as every Tottenham fan, Manchester United fan, Manchester City fan, or anybody would tell you, how many other fouls are happening on this play at the same time? Who doesn't have a grab of a shirt or an elbow into somebody's gut as this is all happening? There is multiple fouls on the play. And if you want to go on top of that and you really are a Premier League nerd like me, look at Arsenal goals from throughout the season. They interfere with the keeper a lot on set pieces to score goals and have gotten away with a lot. So why did Arsenal get saved in this moment? I don't know. But they're about to win their first Premier League title in 20 plus years, and it won't come without controversy.
Yikes.
In the Premier League. It was an unbelievable moment.
Yikes.
Good for the Gunners. Salute.
If you're a Gunners fan, yeah.
If you're a Gunners fan, yes. My story for the weekend revolves around, in a move more rare than Leonardo DiCaprio dating a woman in her 30s, an apology was issued to a fan base. Kevin Pritchard, the GM of the Indiana Pacers, apologized on Twitter to the Pacers fan base because of a gamble that did not pay off. And I'll read his quote here. His tweet, excuse me. I'm really sorry to all our fans. I own taking this risk. Surprised he came up 5th after this year. I thought we were due some luck, but please remember this team deserved a starting center to compete with the best teams next year. We have always been resilient. That was on May the 10th. So a quick backtrack. In February, Pritchard and the Pacers traded Benedict Mathurin, Isaiah Jackson, 2 first-round picks and a second-round pick to the LA Clippers for Ivica Zubac and guard Kobe Brown. The 2026, the first-round stipulations had that if the pick landed between 5 and 9 in the draft lottery, it would go to the Clippers. The Pacers finished the season 19-63, a truly dreadful season without Tyrese Halliburton, and Pascal Siakam was injured a few times this season. So they entered the Sunday's lottery with one of the 3 worst records in the league and a 14% chance at the number 1 pick. And there was a 48% chance that the pick would land about 5th or 6th. And the Pacers had a 52% chance of the pick landing in the top 4. It landed number 5. Therefore, the pick was sent to the LA Clippers. I thought we were due for some luck is a wild strategy because Kevin Pritchard forgot about luck. Those 4 game winners that mother bleeping Tyrese Halliburton, like they went to the luck well and they just made all the withdrawals in 2025 to get them to the NBA Finals. And even actually Tyrese had a game winner in game 1. So Pritchard evidently forgot about that luck. And the fan base, if you read the comments on Twitter, they are letting bro have it. So a rare apology from an executive that was issued to a fan base is my story from the weekend. Kevin Pritchard, good luck moving forward, buddy, but not too much luck because you're playing against us a bunch of times next year and the year after.
I thought it was a fake tweet when I saw that yesterday, or post on social media, Cabbie. So I love that you picked that. And yeah, if you want to be entertained by some of the people online, go look at the comments and quote tweet specifically to that. But we are here now for entertainment purposes only because it's time now for your Pro Line look ahead. This ain't the old Pro Line. The new app makes betting baseball easier than ever. Enjoy more props and same game parlays all baseball season long on the new Pro Line app.
Tonight, I am looking at Quinn Hughes with the Minnesota Wild. On Saturday, Quinn Hughes essentially, he woke up and he said, there is no way we are letting Colorado go up 3-0 in this series. And he took the bull by the horns and got his Wild team to a victory on Saturday. I'm looking for much of the same for one of the best defensemen in the National Hockey League. So I'm going Quinn Hughes, not 1, but 2 points in tonight's matchup against the Colorado Avalanche.
All right, that's a light sprinkle for me, Dan Riccio, as I tell you on that pick. And remember, as Lindsay said, these picks are for entertainment purposes only, folks. Cade Cunningham and the Detroit Pistons can put a stranglehold on the Eastern Conference semifinal series by winning in Cleveland tonight. The Pistons are up 2-1 in large part because Cade Cunningham has powered that engine. He's registered 10 or more assists in 4 of 10 playoff games this postseason and has racked up back-to-back games with 10 assists. So this is the play that intrigues me tonight. 10 or more assists for Cade Cunningham versus the Cleveland Cavaliers tonight in the association.
Guys, last question I'm going to ask you for the day before we let all the fine folks listening online, or maybe they're listening later and it will be happening while I ask you this. Do you think the Blue Jays will win tonight against the Tampa Bay Rays?
Yes.
Gossman versus Drew Rasmussen. Like a tight 3-1. Let's go, Gossman. Throw out another heater. 3-1 Jays. That's my prediction.
Ooh, I like that.
The Rays finally lost an in-division game on the weekend, so it is possible to beat them. Yes, it is.
Anything is possible. We're going to leave on those positive vibes. Thank you for joining us on Monday and Off the Roster. We look forward to seeing you tomorrow.
Hey, we hope you enjoyed this video. If you want more Off the Roster content, make sure to like and hype this video and subscribe to the Off the Roster YouTube channel.